Okay, let's begin. Welcome to Tuesday morning's Tai Chi and Qigong, or you might be listening to the replay. And just as a reminder, you can catch more through my website at onpathhealingarts.com. I'm Andy Barkworth, Sifu Andy, and I'd like you to join me for a morning practice. This will be focused on somewhat more easy and gentle and beginner level practices up eventually and towards the intermediate and moderate level. And later on, in other ways, we'll do some intensive stuff as well. So we're going to start easy and slow. Always do the basics, just like my teacher. A lot of basics, a lot of fundamentals, and that's how all this has the way to build a strong foundation for yourself, for your mind, your emotions, your body, your energy, the way that you navigate your life, and then also this helps set the foundation for you to expand, to bring in some of those qualities of life and experience that are the gems and the jewels of our journey here on Earth. So, welcome, and let's begin. You want to grab a spot, you can find out some more information how to create a training space. Not everybody has a big open room like I do, but I'll tend to keep everything where you can move a little bit to side, front and back. And so if you have a limited space, just make sure there's nothing around you that you could trip or fall on, things like that. And always listen to your own body, always do it in the way that's right for you, and do or do not, depending on what feels good or not may be right for today's practice. So let's begin. Adjusting breath. Exhale. Good inhale needs a strong exhale. Gather the breath. Hold it in. Feel the fullness. Squeeze it out from the top down. Let it sink down through your body into the belly. Fill from the belly up. Lift up all the way into the chest, into the head, and press and squeeze it out. Adjusting our breath, readying our system. And relax the breath. And chi up. Clap the hands together. We usually do 3 times, but whatever number you have is your favorite. Rubbing your hands together briskly. Focusing on contact in the fingers and especially in the palms. So making sure we have contact, and if the vigorous rubbing isn't for you, then just hold your hands together or move slower. We can do this with or without the clap. All of these exercises are just ways to help us to tune in to the body, the mind, our state of being, and to gather more of ourselves into our experience. And then let that go. Relax the arms. Feel your feet connecting to the earth, even as by virtue of the ground or the flooring, even if you're in a high rise. Whatever it is that is connecting you to the earth, feel the pull of gravity, the pressure. And as your body pulls down and becomes rooted, feel the structure of your body rising up, resilient, strong, supple. I am here. I am here, and they are here with me. I am here in this place. I am here in this body. I am here in this heart, with this mind, in this greater awareness. I am here in this moment, this present experience. I have chosen to be here to participate, and I will do the best I can, but not expect more from myself than is what's right for me at this time. I am here with these intentions, and in this process and journey, every day in every way, we are growing healthier, stronger, better, and wiser. Like priming a pump. Ready the body, the breath, the mind. 3 deep cleansing breaths. Expel the air, gather from the feet up. As if you could breathe all the way through your body, breathe from the head down, squeeze it from the chest to the belly. As if the breath could extend all the way through your feet. And fill. Hold it at the top, hold it in, squeeze it out. Hold it empty, ready to fill once again. Gather and release. And clasping the hands behind the back, one into the other. Sometimes it's said for female or male which hand goes where, but just whatever you naturally do is going to be right for you. Lifting one heel off the ground and just work the ankle, and the ball, and the toes, the knee, the hip. Just gently move around and just feel your leg. And then press your foot to the earth and lift the other heel. And just wiggle around and feel the movement. You know, sometimes it's nice to go in a circle, but just do what's right for you. Now we'll bring both feet flat. Feet are about hip to shoulder width apart. Depends on how narrow or wide you like to be. This is our natural stance. Lifting one heel off the ground and stepping side to side as if walking in place. Dream walking. Pumping the legs, lubricating the joints, activating the body, increasing blood flow. And though we're not doing the deep controlled breathing right now, our breath is in our belly, as if our lungs were in our abdomen. Just like watering a plant. Want to let the water go slow and deep so that the roots extend down. Unless that tree or that plant happens to be more widespread in its roots, typically, at least to some degree, we want that root system to dip down, to be deep, to dig down. Activating the legs, walking in place, you might be really slow and light and deliberate. Listen to your body. Take it at the range and the pace that's right for you. And if we're doing something for a period of time and you've already had enough, then feel free to have a seat. Continue practicing from a chair, or you could just simply have a rest and let everything settle. Relax the arms, hands on the hips, moving side to side, and just testing. How far can I go? My body's pretty nice and stretched out. A nice morning practice already. Nice meditation. So everything's feeling pretty good in here right now, but sometimes I don't go as far. I don't go as deep. Sometimes I need to be more gentle and nourishing with my body. Begin to make a circle. Pelvis forward, hip to the side, pelvis back. And just might be very small circle for you, very slow, deliberate, just getting a feel for the movement. It's always gentler and kinder for our body, and we become more available and receptive to listening to the feedback of the body. It wants to tell us what's good for today and what we need maybe to take a pass on or to build ourselves up and come back to at a later time. And a nice rotation in the hip, the ankles, pivoting around the lumbar and cervical vertebrae, and reverse the circle, always to the degree, to the level that's right for your body. Breathe into the belly. Feel your feet connecting you to the earth. You can imagine as if our body were like a rubber band, and it's gently being pulled from the top and from the bottom. So there's a light tension, but it's not pulled so tight that it snaps, and it's not so free and wiggly that it just bounces around everywhere. We have some intention. Our head and spine pulls us up. Our legs and our feet keep us rooted to the ground. Bring it to the center, shaking the branches of the tree. And again, especially if you had joint pain or something talking back to you, you might just be really slow and light and deliberate as you wiggle your body around. If your body responds well and it feels good, you can bounce a little bit more vigorously. You might bounce gently in the knees if that feels good to the body. And eventually, we're going to connect all of our movement to the core, to the belly, abdomen. And if you're into the energy systems, into the lower dantian, the lower chamber, or the sacral chakra, eventually we'll connect all of our movement to that space. But for now, just shake free. Any tension, any stress, any frustrations, anything we've been holding on to, let it go. Let's take a breath in. And you may have already stopped by now. That's okay. Breathe out. Gather. Let it wiggle free. Shaking the branches of the tree, letting go of the old growth. Gather. And release. And relax the breath, relax the body. And just feel the tingling sensations, the spaciousness. Anything that it might have gotten stuck, any tension in the body or pain, any illness or disease. Just loosening the grip on those things. Life patterns, circumstances, ways of being that are no longer serving us. We embrace and greet the lesson that's embedded in those things. And we thank them and let them go so that we can be in tune with more of what we are. It's all already happening, it's all already there. Just learning how to bring the mind and the body into union, connection with a greater, fuller experience. Adjusting breath. Press your feet, bend your knees, gather. And it's, season for colds and things. If you can't breathe through your nose, breathe through your mouth. If you're inhaling through your mouth, breathe like sipping through a straw. The breath get all the way down into the belly, up to the chest, and squeeze it out. And shake it out. Shake a leg, and if balancing and shaking your leg isn't working for you, another nice way to ground or to release and to just let things open up is to step in place a little bit. And if you're seated, you could do a great deal of this stuff just by modifying, especially if you're seated towards the front of the chair, ideally a chair without arms. And my favorite is an ottoman, because it gives you room where you can actually stretch out on it and move freely, move forward or back into the seat and work the body through the hips and the sit bones and the leg positions rather than being standing. And on that note, when we're stretching and moving, take it light and easy. Higher and lighter is easier, less demand on the body. So if you're working up, healing up joints and things like that, or building up your strength, you might not really want to be in the greatest stance, the longest, deepest posture that we could put our body into. So for you, it might be higher and lighter and easier. And so always find that what's the right level? Too easy sometimes isn't challenge us enough. Too hard can be overwhelming, and it can be too much. It can be too much demand. We want to find that, I feel good, but I'm challenged. I have a little bit of challenge. So that's a good place to be. All right. This exercise is called Riding the Wave, and it's a Tai Chi movement. And there's many variations of this technique. This is what we're doing today. Feet are about hip to shoulder width apart. If you'd like to be a little bit wider, open up to about shoulder width or hip width with your stacking our joints, stacking our body. That we're in alignment, shoulders over the hips, hips over the knees, knees over the ankles, instead of having the body rolled forward or rolled back or in weird spots. So we're right down the middle. And now we'll take a light seat like you had a high stool behind you, and you're just going to sit gently on the edge of it. The bend in the knees, but not so deep that you're going into a squat. Ride the wave. Arms float up like water, legs lengthen. Everything comes up together. And then we bend the knees gently, shoulders relax, elbows drop, leading the hands in the palms and resting the hands at the side. Not pulled back too far, but just comfortably down. Palms facing the earth unless that's uncomfortable. Bring the hands, palms to the top of the thighs. Arms are shoulder width apart. Feet are hip to shoulder width apart. And then we push off the feet. Let the whole body rise as one. And then we let that settle back down, riding the ebb and flow of life, the highs and the lows, comfortable in the emptiness, in the waiting and the yielding, and feeling the fullness of expansion, of rising, and just gently coming up and down. It's less important to have it perfect. It's always a journey, and we're just looking for what's good for today's body, that we're moving our body, we're breathing into the belly. Helps to focus our mind, clear out the confusion, the fogginess, the scatteredness, and bring us into a concentrated awareness. This body, this breath, this moment. Rise and fall. And you can continue breathing at your own pace into the belly. And if you'd like to, you can join me with controlled breathing. We can add on the element of a deep breath. Exhale. Inhale and rise. Feel the fullness and let it go. Exhale down. Rooting back to the earth. Empty the breath. If you can't breathe through your nose, breathe like sipping through a straw. And let it go. 2 more times, or you may have had enough already. Breathe and release. One more time. Gather and let it go. I'm very comfortable and used to standing for long periods of time without building up pain or tension. But if you feel like at any moment we're free to stop, to adjust, to wiggle it out, to have a seat, whatever we need to do. There's a lot of stretching that we'll do in Qigong that's, I guess, a bit yoga-like, or deeper, longer stretches, maximizing flexibility and then also increasing strength. Tai Chi and Qigong tends towards mobility. So it will increase flexibility, but it's focusing on balance, coordination, and movement, so that as we transition from one position to another, we have it slow enough and gentle enough that the nervous system, the mind body, has a chance to hone in on what that feels like. And especially when we were younger, and if we were fully body able, then we didn't think much about running and jumping and swinging and whatever. But as we age, sometimes we let go of some of those playtime movements and we become more static and linear. So we want to, get the body in as many diverse positions, postures, and movements so that we can calibrate and recalibrate our system that, actually Andy does want to be able to bend down and pick something up easily. Where if I stop doing certain movements, and sometimes you have to, sometimes that's what's required for your health, something doesn't work well enough that you can do something and you have to modify it. But whatever I can do, little by little, incrementally shifting my body, shifting my mind, my emotions, my energy, and calibrating with my life. So let's take a natural stance. Notice as we were standing and talking, I was moving a little bit, and that's just kind of one of the ways that I will keep myself feeling good. And sometimes I just stand perfectly still and feel good doing that. So we're going to continue with some breathing. And actually, before we do the breath, we'll just do the movement. We're going to press the hands down. And part of this exercise is I'm moving my hands up and down my spine as if my hands were scanning my body, as if I was lifting myself up, as if I was letting myself press back down. And the down and up happens simultaneously, energetically, but we're going to have a sense that we're pulling up from the earth and pulling ourselves up through our body, as if we're pulling ourselves down from the sky and down into the body, into the earth. And typically we'll take 3 of these deep breaths with this motion. If I'm out in the world or at work or somewhere where I need to regain my center and my focus, if I'm getting frustrated or confused or scattered or emotionally charged, then I could do the same breathing, but it would be kind of weird if I did this in line at the bank. So I would just make it a little more covert, more subtle, right? But I could still tap into the power of the breath, the body, able to bring myself into the moment, into the nervous system in a more relaxed space. And then from there, I can handle whatever's happening. So that is the primary, is this sense of up and down the spine, bringing us into the center, which bringing the mind into a calm state, helping balance and bring peace to our emotional body, our emotional state, and then also connecting us into the body, into the physical form. So now we're going to circulate the legs. We're going to push down, and now as if the breath, we were not going to do the controlled breathing, so you're still just breathing naturally, but we're going to have the sense that I'm pulling my fingers as if my fingers could reach to the inseam, the inside of my legs from my feet up into my belly. And then the gesture of and the movement of the arms and the hands helps bring the mind's awareness to what's happening in the body. I basically bring myself into my core, my lower chamber, and now I press down out along the sides of the legs to the sides of the feet into the earth. So now focus on circulating. Much of what we're about is circulating and integrating, balancing, so that the mind, body, and everything involved in the life experience is on the same page, is connected and tuned in. So we might do 3 or we might do more, whatever I'm feeling. I'm going to rise and pull myself up like I'm putting on my pants. I'm going to have a sense of wrapping around my waist and my lower back and then down the sides. Now I'm going to bring the hands up to the belly. And now, as if it was feeding through my belly button towards the back of my spine, now from between my legs it comes up the back of my spine, like I'm pulling a shawl over my head, over my body, around the top of my head and the front to the upper teeth. And now I'm going to come down through the belly to the belly, between the legs, and now I'm going to circulate along my spine and my head and my root, or through the perineum. So I'm going to kind of come from the lower jaw, lower teeth, down the front of my body, between the legs, up the back of the spine, to the top of the head, opening up those tension spots behind the neck and shoulders, down the face, forehead, upper teeth. Now we're going to open up, and we've been standing and that's comfortable for me, but you might feel better off shifting your weight a little bit side to side or moving the feet. You might have to adjust and release the arms once in a while. like a branch of a tree holding itself up. It's, for the tree, that's natural, right? But for us, we start to get tense. So we'll eventually learn how to stay relaxed. And instead of tightening the muscles and building up lactic acid and all that stuff in the muscles, we use the muscles to position ourselves, and then we relax the muscles and let the skeletal structure and the tendons and ligaments and all that kind of hold us in place. But everything takes time and practice. So I'm just kind of working it out before we go to the next stage. And we already have a fullness of body and mind and energy and emotions, but there's sometimes we get stuck or it hasn't developed in a certain area. So we're just helping to open things up so we become a greater conduit. In some respects, we cultivate and collect, but more importantly is that we are become open, that the piping inside the house is open. It's not backing up and there's no leaks, right? So we want the plumbing system inside the body to be the same way where, when it needs to turn on, it can turn on. When it's draining out, it can drain out. And we become a greater conduit for everything that we're hoping to experience. So I might settle back down, and you might hold your arms lower towards your lap instead. It's just whatever feels good. See if give you a good view. So I'm going to take one hand and I'm going to come off from the top of my fingers along the back of my arm. I'm going to circulate up my shoulder, side of my head. And I'm going to I could come from the same side or the opposite side. Sometimes I do it various ways. Turn my palm up, and I'm going to come from the chest, collarbone area, shoulder to the elbow, along the palmar side of the arm, out to the fingertips. And so we're just helping to scan. Sometimes I'll actually physically touch and brush. Sometimes I'll pat and tap instead. You can hold your arm lower, take the pressure off the shoulder, palm down on the way up, palm up on the way down. And again, we're just doing 3 right now, and I'm going to switch to the other side. Palm down, coming from the fingers, back of the arm, behind the shoulder blade, neck, head, palm up, coming from the body out to the hands. And if you happen to reverse this, it's okay. Energy's flowing, the body is doing its thing, and you can't break it as long as you're not doing too much and you're in pain. All right, so free to adjust, free to shift and move, free to have a seat. And now go ahead and bring that into the face and just let it gently move down through the body. Shake it out a little bit. This is an exercise from Fire Flower System of Qigong, the main practice I've been working with for about 30 years, close to 30 years, along with Kung Fu and Tai Chi and meditation. It's one of my favorite sets. It's based off the Ba Dua Jin, the 8 brocades, famous and powerful Qigong system out of China, and that also has many variations. This is our little version of this, coming down from Grandmaster Alan Lee to my teacher Sifu Sharif, Grandmaster Umar Sharif, and now I'd like to share it with you. Just like everything else, it's almost like Pavlov's dogs, teaching this connection, association between how I breathe and the goodness that follows. So when I take my 3 deep breaths, I can use it to ready myself. I can take 3 deep breaths to gather myself, to center myself in the moment that something's going on. And I can use my 3 deep breaths as a way to recover or to cool down. So now let's adjust the breath. Exhale, gather, fill from the belly up. Exhale from the chest, the belly down. As if you could reach into the earth and breathe from the feet up to the head. Filling the body with breath from the bottom up. As if the hands could bring the sky down through the head. Squeezing the breath out from the top down. One more, third deep breath. Sometimes instead you might take a gentle breath instead of a deep breath. That's good too. Priming the pump, adjusting the breath. Hands in lotus position, standing lotus. So notice again my feet are parallel. I'm about hip width apart. If you feel more comfortable, slightly wider, but not too wide and not too narrow. Right? We want to have a nice structure, nice base, nice foundation. I can balance, on one leg or feet together, but I want to, in this time, let my body feel nice and supported, that everything's stacking and lining up in my body. Palms face the sky. I can connect the index and thumbs, also known as Dharma Mudra, a hand posture of the hands. Every culture and every person, whether it's formal training or just the natural comfortable positions we put our hands in, granted that we have hands. This is a natural part of life, and we're just using that as a way to focus ourselves. Exercise 1, Fire Flower Qigong, pushing the sky. And I'll only do it in the way that's right for you. I'll offer ideas for modifications, but sometimes as we start a new exercise, we might just not be ready for it yet, or it might not be for today's experience, today's body, and that's okay. You could have a seat and just breathe and watch. We open the palms, cross the arms and bend the knees. If it's comfortable for your body, bring the knees towards each other. They may or may not touch. I'm not leaning so far that I feel out of balance. I'm just collapsing myself inward, almost like a seed. I've crossed my center line and I'm connecting into my body. And if the knees are together or closer together, push them out so they're over the feet and the ankles. Swing the arms down. And now reaching with the palms, coming up. Lengthen the body, straighten the legs, come all the way up, arms about shoulder height. And now I'm going to bend the knees as deep as I can without folding forward and without causing pain. If my body tells me, don't go that deep, not now, I listen to that. My palms begin to rotate slightly in. And now I'm going to push all the way up, lengthen my legs without locking my knees. I want to keep the gates of the joints open. As my hands approach each other, the palms face one another. If you can't reach up, reach out. Even reaching down. It's all the same. It's all good. Give you a side view. We're going to interlace the ring and middle fingers. Leave the pinky, index, and thumbs connected. And if your hands don't cooperate, whatever they do is just fine. It's just another hand posture to help with things. We're going to lean the head back gently, but if that's not a move for you, for your neck or your balance, then just keep looking forward. Head goes back gently. Breathe in the belly. Chin comes forward. And again, or just keep the head level. Not forcing it, not straining. Breathe into the belly. And then bend the knees and bend the elbows and melt down. We're going to interlace the fingers, all the fingers interlaced, as if you're laying in the grass looking at the sky, resting your hands behind your head, your thumbs in the soft tissue at the base of the skull. We'll align the spine and we're going to lock the lower, middle, and upper cores. Give you a side view. My feet are still hip width apart. I'm going to lift the chin just about level, slightly tucked. Bring the elbows and shoulder blades back, and maybe for you it's just a gentle press back. Maybe you're good for a good squeeze. And now I'm going to tilt my tailbone under me a little bit. I'm going to let my hip bone go, top of the hip go back. I'm not going so far that I'm pressing my pelvis so far forward. I'm just going to take a moment to align my spine, cervical, thoracic, and lumbar spine. And I lock and squeeze into the belly. And then release that forward, just like squeezing a sponge. Just like you want to squeeze and release the sponge to clean it out. Now we'll shift back onto the heels, bring the weight to the heels and then forward. That's the easy version. Or you can shift onto the heels and let the balls of the feet come up, rocking back, but bring the feet flat once again. Bring the hands above the crown. As we rotate the palms forward and up, we're going to push up at a slight diagonal, not directly above the head. That begins to pinch the shoulders. And again, for you, that might be out in front, or you actually might press down instead. That's just fine. We're going to go up onto the toes, and maybe you can or can't do that, and maybe you can hold it, maybe you can't. Looking straight ahead or slightly down is easier for balance, as the eyes often rely on the environment for balance. Eventually, you get to where you can look up beneath the hands and eventually look up at the hands themselves. Release the elbows. Separate the fingers and push up with the palms. Tuck every finger and the thumbs except for the index finger. And you might already be flat-footed on the ground. That's great too. Over time, you'll find the balance point. But make a big open circle out to the side, moving down slowly onto the heels, arms coming down. Halfway down, we're going to go from pointing just the index finger to lotus position, connecting the index and thumbs together, and continue our circle as we gather ourselves into the body, into the belly, into this lower core, the seat of vitality, health, the lower end of the vagus nerve. Breathe into the belly. Only do as much as you can, only in the way that's right for you today. Open the palms, bend the knees and cross the arms, and maybe instead of going down deep, you just barely bend the knees. Maybe you're in a chair and you just press your feet against the earth. Knees can come in or not. Release the arms. And as the hands meet the knees, gently press the knees out, but not bowing the legs. Feet still flat to the earth. And I push up from the earth, lengthen my legs and gather, palms facing forward. And as I bend my knees, I go as deep as I can without folding into it, and my palms begin to rotate towards each other. They're at a slight diagonal. I really drop down as far as I can without having to fold to go further. And now I push all that up into a vertical stretch, vertical alignment, just like our breathing exercise. The hands coming up and down the spine, the body. Arms above the head or out in front or even down is just fine. Interlace the ring and middle fingers, creating a mudra of love, of self-love. Keep the head straight forward if that's best for you, or lean the head back. Breathe. Slide the head through the arms if your arms are up, and breathe, head or chin down without forcing, or just keep the head and neck neutral. Breathe. And now taking that vertical stretch and just letting it melt down, interlacing the fingers, bending the knees gently, not going too deep. If I bring my knees past my big toes, that's all right for a stretch and for certain movements, but if I do that over and over again, I might wear out my joints prematurely. Just a comfortable bend. And elbows are forward. I'm rounding my upper back, kind of exaggerating a little bit here, but I'm nice and soft. And now I align the spine, lift the chin just about level, slightly tucked still. Shoulders and elbows back. I'm going to squeeze on my spinal column, squeeze on the space behind my shoulder blades. And then I'm going to take my tailbone under me a little bit, like I'm trying to point my tailbone and my perineum directly to the center of the earth. And it's okay if you don't get these details right away. As long as you're not feeling pain, you're okay. If you're feeling pain, make an adjustment or skip it for now. Squeeze my belly, squeeze my chest, back of my arms, back of my hands, put a little pressure in the back of my head and pressure into my neck. And then I release that, soften forward, let the elbows come forward, rounding the back. And then shift back onto the heels and forward, or shift back and rock. Bring the hands above the crown, turn the palms up towards the sky. It's easier to look down diagonally or straight ahead, or you could look just at the thumbs or eventually at the hands themselves, up onto the toes, moving once again into that vertical stretch, really opening up myofascial network, squeezing into the belly for balance. Release the elbows, separate the hands, push the palms up, and then tuck every finger and the thumb aside from the index finger. Index finger slightly touching, and then a big open circle. As we let the heels start to come down, and the arms are halfway down, I switch back to thumbs and indexes connected, lotus position. As my heels touch down, my hands come together just below my belly button. Fingertips just below my belly button, low in my lap. And that was 2 repetitions of exercise 1, pushing the sky. In one set, we might do as many as 8, but in one sitting, that's plenty. And that is the first of 8 exercises in the Fire Flower set. Let's adjust the breath. Exhale. I release my breath, then I gather. I feel the fullness and I let it go. As long as my breath persists, life persists. I trust the next breath is coming. I really like the fullness, but I'm okay. Peaceful in the emptiness, because I'm just getting ready for another breath. Gather and release. And a posture we call yuding. It's like holding a ball between your hands. You can hold your hands out in front of the heart space, one of the heart chakra postures. Or you might hold your hands lower in front of the belly, the lower dantian, root and sacral chakra posture. Or you might feel like you need a little bit of tuning in with the mind, or maybe letting go of anxiety and analytical thinking or fogginess, and want to bring it up towards the head. Or you might just relax the arms all together. And notice that I'm lightly shifting back and forth. That feels good to me right now. Sometimes I stand perfectly still. Sometimes I twist and move. Might even have a seat. Breathe into the belly. Just take a moment to tune inward. Looking inside. It's safe. It's good. Just see what's going on in there. If something feels like too much, then I can just come back to that another time. I can just go ahead and let it all go and just take a nice breath. Just feeling the sensations, my heart beating, my breath rising and falling, my belly, my abdomen moving with the breath, expanding, opening on the inhale, gently squeezing in on the exhale, drawing my breath lower and deeper into my lungs, drawing in more oxygen, better gas exchange, letting go of CO2 and old body materials and gases that are not needed in the body. I let that go through the breath. Now just go ahead and let the arms settle. And shaking the branches of the tree, shake a leg. As we shake free the old growth, like a breeze, like a wind coming through, the pull of gravity, making room for new growth, something new possibilities, an updated body, an updated calibrated system. Just shake it out a little bit or step in place. There's all kinds of brushing and scanning and tapping practices I like to do when I conclude a set. But for today, let's focus in on just some of the things we've done so far. Once again, adjusting breath. Exhale. With or without the hands, a big, deep, or a quiet, gentle breath. You might have already had enough of the deep breathing. That's okay. Everything takes time to acclimate. Give yourself time. Be patient and kind with yourself along your journey. And as you reach to greater heights, stay humble. Stay grounded. All right. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you enjoyed yourself. You might be watching a replay. This might be 10 years from now. Who knows? Who knows? Again, I'd like to invite you to stop by onpathhealingarts.com. There'll be links in the text below. I don't usually say it, but like it, hit the like button, all that jazz, you know the score. And then Tuesday mornings, 8 a.m. Phoenix time, we'll be doing Tai Chi and Qigong. And over time, we'll be changing up the different kinds of exercises we do. There are hundreds, thousands of things that we could be doing. And so it just takes time, and I'll keep it simple, and we'll build it up little by little. And then Wednesday, late morning, early afternoon, 11 a.m. Arizona time, we'll do seated and standing meditations. And everything that I share in these classes, you could do seated, and much of which you could do lying down or modified. And again, the stance work and the body work, keep it high and light and easy. And sometimes I go, for the deep stuff, but you always make it right for you. And then Thursday mornings, 8 a.m. Arizona Phoenix time, we'll be doing Kung Fu Fitness. And I do teach martial arts for one of the uses of martial arts is self-defense and martial skill, but we'll be focusing on the mobility and the fitness aspect of Kung Fu. And though it will actually help to train your body potentially for self-preservation and the preservation of others, it will not be focused on martial skill and combat. But from our perspective, doing no harm and avoiding that physical conflict when absolutely possible, that's the best place to be. That only using the smallest amount of martial force if we had to actually deal with something. So we're not looking to harm anybody. And really, it's a vehicle of self-cultivation, is a vehicle of, in a way, self-discipline, and a vehicle for, just like Tai Chi and Qigong and meditation, it's a way to connect with the body, the breath, the mind, and get a little more organized inside this thing and inside this life. So I'd like you to join in on that if you like. For now, I'm doing live streaming with these classes, but they are a Zoom class and a paid class, and you can reach those through my website. So as I introduce this, I'm doing it more publicly, and the recordings will stay on YouTube, but eventually that will be either live Zoom or accessible through my On Path Healing Arts membership, where you can get the replays of all the classes, about 12 to 15 a month, and the archive of those. So we're just kind of getting started in this realm. Been teaching for 20 years and studying for over 30, and I still study and practice and still train with my teacher. And so the journey never ends. You don't really get to the top, so to speak. And really, the higher you climb, the more humble you become of what you're engaged in. So hope this served you well. And until next time, peace and love. She. Thank you.